Hey, this is Jason J. Lewis, Superman from Justice League Action, and you're watching SuperWonder Legacy.
You're strong.
I know.
Are you a sight for sore eyes?
It's nice to have someone who likes you for being you.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to Super Wonder Legacy. Happy Valentine's Day. And today we are celebrating Valentine's Day with Super Wonder. And I am here with Britt as usual. What's up, Britt?
Hello, and happy Valentine's Day.
You too. And yes, what's up, Cameron? Happy Valentine's Day. So today what we're going to do, the structure of this episode, so we're going to talk about the past times DC has done like Valentine's or romantically like oriented comics. And then we're going to talk about, Britt and I picked a bunch of the couples that we've already done couples comparisons for. So we're going to do how each of those couples would celebrate this special day. And then, to my big surprise and relief, Britt's going to give a review of Absolute Wonder Woman Annual, and she gives it a 10 out of 10.
Don't get too happy. It might be just for today because it is a lovey-dovey day. But no, it was a good story. It was a good book, and as I told you earlier, I will elaborate on that. But I hope that we get this type of quality with the main story.
Let's see. All right, so let's get this crazy train going. So let's do this. So once again, it's like, obviously this is a romantic podcast. We kind of have to cover this, but yeah, so a couple of the things that we're going to talk about is because DC has like a wide variety of power couples that they use, or in the case of Super Wonder, misused grossly. And so what we want to do is kind of highlight how does DC like roll this properly. So Britt, why don't you start us off?
All right, yeah. So it is Valentine's Day, and normally we see it on the Bird app, Instagram. If you still use Facebook, any social site, they will have red hearts everywhere. And couple pictures, fan edits, and everything like that. Well, honestly, I didn't really see that much from Marvel or DC today.
Yeah, there wasn't really. Hey, what's up, Sean Franklin? I don't think they regularly do the romantic comics
They
anymore.
do. Oh, they do. No. Now that really stopped, ironically, during the New 52. With Young Romance with Superman and Wonder Woman, that was actually the highest like romantic anthology that was sold. Then afterwards it really did start dwindling. They were trying to do the traditional relationships, Superman and Lois, Diana and Steve, Batcat, Nightwing and Batgirl, Dinah and Ollie, just the, as I said, traditional relationships. It wasn't anything fun. And then after a while, now it has been more ship war type bait, to try to get that engagement. But it's just seemed to, as I said, start ship wars. It's not really anything fun.
What are you talking about? Starting ship wars is really fun.
Not if you have to close off your comment section just because you posted fan art.
Oh yeah, you remember that? Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't really get that type of shipping, just for today because, you are supposed to celebrate love. You're supposed to be happy, but it's more so within the family, it's a lot of hatred, and people basically is still going under people's, shipping posts and saying, oh, I don't like this or whatever. It's like, okay, be hateful somewhere else.
Hmm.
This is trying to show love and happiness or whatever. Um, but with what we're doing, we are, in a sense, multi shipping, except for traditional ships, of course. Um, and showing love for power couples that really are connected to Super Wonder, showing how Super Wonder, you know, deserves to have that type of respect. And our perspective of it's more than just, playing Captain Save a Thought or um, thinking that this one person holds the key to your humanity or something like that. It's not only why they love each other, but what they give to the world as well, being heroes.
Yeah, exactly. So let's start with 1978, which is the DC Presents number 32. Britt and I have talked about this book before, and I saw, Britt, there is a t-shirt of that cover.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
debating whether I should buy it.
you should. Vintage is fun. You have Lois and Steve looking embarrassed or pathetic in the background, and Arrow's very amused with being messy. We don't have messy drama like this. So this is a gem, for that type of drama um, from the Bronze Age. And this is when, honestly, DC was open to still tease other relationships, even though, of course, they were still stuck on the traditional ones, trying to have Lois acceptable to be the primary love interest. Steve was just Steve.
It's
Um,
just Steve. I love that. Oh my
is
God.
is the sack of potatoes. He was just there. Um, and with this story, it is Eros, which is really weird because we have Eros in New 52, and I'd like to think of that version of him. But this Bronze Age version was in love with Diana.
Ah, okay, I
And
see.
when Diana rejected him, he, wanted to basically play on some heartstrings. And and so he cast um, an enchantment on Diana and Cal for them to fall in love. And with this story, it's a fun little thing, but at the same time, you take it as there has to be something underlying there too. That yeah, sure, it's kind of like or it's different from poison ivy poison ivy's pheromones that have you acting, a certain way of in love. No, this is I feel like with arrows, he is playing on something that's already there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's all, but I just can't get over. Is this also the one where, like, at the end, they just, it's one of those things where, like, at the end, they're like, oh, what could be?
It was a what could be. You also get the first time when it said that Diana calling Superman Cal,
Oh,
that
okay.
um, it means something personal. Like if you call him Cal, you're really close to him in that sense of endearment. And that's pretty much what catapulted it to Diana always calling him that in that sense of endearment. And we're friends, but it might be something more um, to us.
I like
And
that.
um, you also get the line where it says there is perhaps inevitability about such things, which means that Superman and Wonder Woman for some reason is inevitable. You can't help but to wonder, pun intended, um, could they be a couple? Are they a couple? How could that story go? DC plays on that, but of course they are beating around the bush or getting cold feet and never fully, let the story unfold, backpedaling and stuff. But it is all will always linger.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's the thing. It's like the difference is that we should be able to do it, but it's like, will DC allow us to do that, or will they stop worshiping Lois in favor of like actually allowing some character development?
Right. I mean, like as I stated earlier, um with their post, you have DC trying, they're definitely in that hello fellow kids mode. Um with their social media post, and it's very cringe. So their one post, I think it was yesterday or the day before. No, it was yesterday. They played upon heated rivalry with Clark and Lex.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, that, I mean, yeah. Um, and of course, you have the Lois fans are like, no, you're only supposed to post, Clark and Lois, or whatever, especially with the Superman 2025 movie. And the only thing that DC also posts on their YouTube page, they posted a poll um, having Nightwing and Starfire against Nightwing and Batgirl.
Mm.
They then posted. They did post Clois though, basically just the live action version and saying how they're always together or whatever. But it really just they just kind of with Reeves, it's some things taken out of context because after the second movie, Lois and Superman aren't even together.
Okay, I see.
In that movie, they chose Smallville, which I would say after seeing that side of the fandom, um, yeah, Lana definitely was supposed to be the end game there. It feels like it's just because out of tradition or out of something they had to have Lois, but it really felt like that show was really dedicated to Clark and Lana. And I don't like the revisionist history even with her story too, Lana's story, because yes, it was supposed to be a Betty Veronica type thing, but in some instances, Lana was, to be that love interest for Clark. And then you have, of course, the 2025 movie, which is the first movie. I have my qualms with it because Gunn starts off with them together and you don't really know why they're together. You don't really know how they ended up together. It's just he completely, fast forward through any type of development. And you're supposed to just accept that they're together just because of, you know, that is that relationship.
Exactly. So then we get to, and what's up, Deprived? So then we get to 2014 Truth Beneath the Surface. This was the fun. This was a really fun one because I love where I do like this version of Arrows where instead of a bow and arrow, he just shoots people with guns.
Exactly.
This is the
So,
most new 52 thing I've ever seen.
yes. So, and he's kind of like a country boy too. So it's very interesting. Eros depiction. So in with this, Clark and Diana, they are on a date, getting to know each other a little bit more. Clark is saying how he keeps secrets and everything, and but to understand why he keeps the secrets, and he's not really trying to lie or anything. It's just he's trying to protect people. And you see that Diana understands that now. She sees that he's not lying just to deceive people. He is actually trying to protect people. And but she also teases him in a sense of saying that if he lies to her, she will use the lasso on him. Um, and so you have, I guess, these harpies, or maybe
Hmm.
I think they are harpies, but they possess Clark. And Diana wraps the lasso around him, and he tells her that he doesn't want to fight her or anything like that. And then Eros is under a spell as well by the harpies, and he shoots Cal. And what Eros says is that, in order for Diana not to get hurt, the bullet that he shoots will have Cal always in love with Diana. But Diana refuses that because she wants Cal to love her, you know, um, and it be by his own choice. So at the end of the story, Cal does, catches a bullet, um, playing on the faster than a speeding bullet. And he says that him, choosing to love her is his choice. So it was really sweet, but it's also going with both of these stories. Um, someone has to be possessed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. It's also kind of funny, by the way. If this were Tom King writing it, he would make it where like Diana wanted Clark to be like Diana would make Clark take the bullet, saying, "No, you have to love me."
He, yeah, he would definitely have arrows. Um, probably say something about the military too, because he's gun.
Oh yeah,
Um,
oh yeah. He's like, "Oh my god, I got these. The military has such great weaponry."
something like that, yeah. And he probably would try to have Steve there too, just because. Um, or I don't know, maybe Diana does sulk, because it's King. He has to have her sulk in some way. Um,
Diana brings Trinity to the date strapped to her back. I love annoying Britt with my "what if Tom King did this" thing. But yeah, so let me ask you this: which of the two, the 24, the Young Romance special, or the DC Presents 32, is your favorite?
okay, going by the ending, I would say the 2014 one because at the end, of course, of the, you know, 78 one, you had to go back to the status quo. Even though, you do have the story of them, obviously, as I said, it's very soap opera, very messy, um, and you get this tease. But of course, but again, you have to follow this line of, but the status quo of Clark has to go back with Lois and Diana has to go back with Steve. It was, that kind of ruined it a little bit. You could have left it a little open ended. And then it was those moments within the story too of them trying to um have those moments of, but this is the right way of going back to the status quo. 2014 is a little bit better because even though it shows that Clark is easily possessed as always, it's still the truth that they really did fall in love and they do have that love for each other. And there's no need for any type of um, manipulation from any god.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're gonna so let's talk about the irony of this, Britt. Go ahead.
Yeah, so again, this is going into the, you know, this was 36 years of, in between the stories and how drastically the story perspective changed. You do have the Valentine's Day, the love drama, triangle, square, whatever, with them. But and Eros is in the middle. Someone has to be possessed, mostly Clark. Um, but it is that the romance is there. It's just one is it could be a possibility, and yeah, we are very much aware of it, but we have to maintain the status quo. And then you have again the 2014 where Clark and Diana are the status quo, so you are able to actually explore those feelings. Um, and but that is the pattern between those 36 years because we had post crisis where it starts off with Perez building their relationship very um, young and rushed, this rushed feeling, and it was dropped mainly because of the Superman editorial and Bond, wanting that Superman is just this guy from Kansas who is a flag waver, instead of truly exploring his identity. And that's the thing that Diana brings out is that you have to explore the multitude of both of their identities. Um, so it's they're the same but vastly different.
Yeah, exactly. So let's continue on. So now we're going to get to our power couple celebration. So basically what this is again, we've picked out a selection of couples and we've gone over and done like stories in terms of how each couple would celebrate Valentine's Day. So Britt, let's start with, again, the couple that no one knows about, SuperWonder.
Right. Okay, so their love language, of course, is ideals and intimacy. This is Clark and Diana are their connection is understanding and this um, philosophical, communication.
And by the way,
Um,
you were sounding slightly muffled a little bit.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, a little bit. It's just it's sounding kind of like you're underwater a little bit, and there's a little sound that plays occasionally on the mic.
Hold on. Huh,
Technical difficulties,
difficulties,
folks.
as always. Okay, how about now?
Okay, start talking, and then okay, the sound is still there.
Okay, hold on. Well, you can say your couple and let me get this straightened out.
Okay, well, I'll do that. I'll skip to my couple real quick. So I did two. So I did Emma Frost and Scott Summers. So yes, I do ship Emma and Scott. Suck it, Jean Grey. But their love language is mental and leadership. And basically, so they both struggle with being the leaders of the X-Men. And Emma particularly also struggles with being a former supervillain. Because again, what people need to remember about Emma Frost is that she started off as an X-Men villain, but it's like she joined the team and she found acceptance. Now with Scott Summers, he struggles to figure out what to do with Emma for a date because he wants it to be perfect, but she comes from a very delicate family and like the Hellfire Club and stuff as well. So he's like, what do I like give her that's like, what's the word? How do I give her like a Valentine's Day that's like appropriate for her? Now, what Emma does as well is that so that was for giving her a romantic dinner on the X Mansion lawn. But what Emma and Scott do, I mean, is that Emma links their minds together so they send each other love thoughts throughout the meal. So what do you think, Britt?
All right. So, with them, I think that they are. Well, I don't really know much about Scott and Emma,
Mm-hmm.
even though we've gone over them. It's kind of like that's the last time I kind of, um, thought about them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would say I'm so confused on the whole X-Men relationships.
Oh
You
my
know, because
god.
on one end, with Emma, it's that she she helps Scott basically kind of man up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but on the other hand, there's some say that she manipulates him. And with Jean, it's how she wanted to play on his feelings with Jean.
The thing about that is, here's the thing, Britt. Emma gets basically lumped in with Injustice Wonder Woman, as they call her, like a temptress, because there was a period when Scott basically became a revolutionary leader slash kind of villain, and a lot of people blame her for that, even though it's completely unjustified. But the thing about it is like, yes, this relationship started with the mental affair, but the thing about it with Jean is that, first off, Jean keeps dying and coming back to life, so you can imagine the emotional damage that leaves on poor Scotty. But the other thing about it is she encourages him to be more assertive and be more of like the leader that she knows he can be, and he kind of softens her and basically encourages her to be less, let's say, uptight, if you will. At least the way I always read it.
Hmm. Well, I mean, at least the X-Men is more open to relationships, even if it is to be a little toxic here and there. I don't really care for toxic relationship. Don't um, like it too much. But I would say that that explanation gives a little bit more of, okay, I see why this relationship has the fan base that it does. And that back and forth between Jean, yeah, I do know that Jean does die a lot. And also that weird triangle with Wolverine as well.
Yeah, I know. Even though
Um,
Wolverine's much older than she is.
right. So I see that, of why the appeal of why you would go with Emma for Scott.
Yeah, exactly. And then Cameron says, as someone who got introduced to Emma, Emma the homewrecker, who was evil and still slept with Scott this Jew. Yeah, it's like people ignore the character arc that she kind of goes for, and it's it's like, because here's the thing again, it's like when you deal with like what happened to Scott and him becoming evil, it wasn't just Emma. I'm like, the dude was teaming up also with Magneto, and it was even beyond that. It's like there was a period where like they all became the Phoenix. It's a long story, but the point is, it's much more complicated than he was with Emma, so he turns evil. Where have we heard this before?
The thing is, you always have to blame the woman.
Oh, well, yeah, and it's like, it's let me put it this way: the Scott and Jean fans are a less extreme version of the Chloe fans. Meaning is like, he has to be with Jean. And I go, since when? Are you there, Britt?
I mean, from
Hmm?
what I see with all the X-Men fans is basically everyone gets with everyone
A
at some
little
point.
bit, but don't even get me started on, for many years the X-Men basically were on an orgy island. Yes, that's what it is.
Right, right.
I've explained that crapshoot to you many times, but yeah, it's just like the thing. But at the very least, yeah, you are right. The X-Men is more allowed to like switch up the love interest a little bit. But shall we move on to my second pair, and then we'll go to yours?
Yes.
All right. So I also had Hal Jordan and Carol Ferris. So the way I kind of do it is that their love language is light and will. So obviously Hal is trying to make up for all of his screw ups in the past with Carol, and Carol wants Hal to be more confident in their relationship. So Hal buys Carol a necklace of like pearls or like pendants that are like green and pink, and it says "My Sapphire" across it. And then Carol gets Hal a model airplane. It's the same like plane that like his father flew, and it's a way of her saying he would be so proud of you.
No, that's really sweet.
Yeah, and the thing about these two is like it is very interesting how no matter if they even try and give them other love interests, like did you know, Britt, there was a period where Carol dated Kyle?
Yeah, they was trying to do something controversial.
Oh, trust me, it sucked. And there was this time where Grant Morrison tried to claim that Hal was pansexual and tried to make him like the Captain Kirk, where he sleeps around with every animal. And I go, bro, just stop. Just stop.
Yeah, that was because, with Hal being in space, of course, it is that he's with different, species of women, you know,
Counterpoint, he never sleeps with them.
well, wasn't it Morrison that did have him sleep with an
He
alien?
tried to. Yeah, they did, but the problem is that was never. You notice how that's never referenced again, almost as if DC's like that was a mistake. Because again, like I said when we did the episode on Hal and Carol, it's always been Carol with Hal. There's never really been like they've had like other people try and be a love interest like Cowgirl and like Arissa. But no, it's really only been Hal and Carol.
I mean, and that's fine because Carol is her own independent, character, and she's
Hmm?
also Star Sapphire. So you do have two supers together.
Oh yeah, yeah, and you notice for the longest time she didn't have powers. It was only in the Jeff Johns run that she was given like, she was Star Sapphire as a villain, but it was before they actually made her like a Lantern leader. And that's the other thing about Hal and Carol is that they've both been leaders of their individual corps, and I really think that adds a little bit of a unique like setup for them, a unique understanding between them. Hey, what's up, Parker? Because what you see here, and Cameron says, sorry, I keep bringing this up. I keep getting hit with nostalgia about how people introduced this from Doom and always thought Hal cheated on Carol until she became evil. Yeah, Hal has that's the other thing. Hal has never cheated on Carol. Here's the other thing. I don't blame Britt for thinking Hal was a playboy, because in the movies, in the animated movies, they have him hitting on women left and right. I mean, even in Justice League War, he's like dibs. But now that's really never been Hal's thing. He puts on an act at most, but no, it's really always been Hal joining Carol Ferris. And again, it's like for the longest time after she like lost the Star Sapphire powers, she was just a regular human being, but Hal still like was into her. And I believe she still knew he was Green Lantern. And it's like even in like any of the animated series they play off of that. And it's been one of those relationships where like my favorite moment of this is when Hal and Sinestro are captured by the Indigo tribe. That's the tribe that's built off of compassion. And what happens is Hal has enough charge for one final construct before, as far as he knows, he's going to die. The last image he has is of Carol basically saying, "I'm sorry, I couldn't come home." Obviously, he comes home, but that's besides the point. And it's one of those things where, like, yeah, Hal may screw up, but he puts in the effort.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of something that, Jeff Johns is the one who wrote Hal to be, this lover boy for Carol, and then you write him in New 52 as a womanizer.
Well, now here's the way that Jeff can excuse that, because remember, Justice League, the first like the first arc origin is taking place 5 years in the past, so it could be that was Hal before he was in love with Carol. Because even later on in New 52 Green Lantern, he was still in love with Carol.
Right, but you still want some consistency.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't like it, but it's like I kind of am like, okay, that kind of works, I guess. But anyway, let's move on to your couple. So we have obviously Superman, Wonder Woman, the couple that no one's ever heard of.
Right. So with their love language, it is ideals and intimacy. As I said, they have this special bond of understanding each other and mostly this physical, sophical um, type connection, and emotional. Um, they don't want to escape their responsibilities. It's nothing like that. It's always celebrating life. And so it's really like from metropolis, to a different city, state, country, to Themyscira, and just a learning of culture and just the way of life. I always think of, and it might be a story idea, of course, of basically Diana teaching Cal and, in a sense, connecting his, being a son of a scientist and her being the literal Mother Earth, I would say, because she was born of Earth, and how they really deep dive into just life itself. Um, and as far as Valentine's goes, Diana would give Cal something um, handmade from Themyscira. And I would say that Cal would take her somewhere that's, again, a little bit more culture filled, like some type of culture festival or something, something that's music based. And I like to think of Diana as a foodie too. So, she loves that. But he, in turn, will also give her something that's intertwining his, Kryptonian culture.
Yeah, exactly. I could see like if I could see Diana make like maybe because it's like at the mascara she does a lot of like art. Let's say she makes them like a sculpture that's like their logos intertwined, or she basically like maybe in a better version than what Lois was doing in the Warworld saga, researches Kryptonian history and finds like Cal's ancestor, like maybe Jor-El's father, and makes a statue for the fortress for him.
Exactly. That would be definitely something that Diana would do.
And for Cal, for with Diana, so he runs into the similar situation that like Scott did. He's like, what do I get Wonder Woman for Valentine's Day? He's like, how do I do this? And he like goes to like all the other leaguers for like advice. He's like, okay, Hal, I need your help here. And then Hal goes, I'm sorry, dude, I need to find something for Carol. And he zooms off. And then he's like, Bruce, you got to help me. What do I do? And then Bruce goes, what is Diana like? He goes, too much stuff. You got to be more specific. And Bruce essentially says, just think of what Diana means to you and then do that. And then and Clark goes, well, that's specific. Thanks. So he leaves and he goes, got it. So what he does is he essentially at the Fortress of Solitude, he basically expands it with a wing that's all like Amazonian culture. So in other words, so she feels more at home when she's at the fortress. And his idea is like, my Valentine's Day gift to you is my Fortress of Solitude. And we can make it, this is when he like keys her into like the DNA, like access to the fortress, and like she has full access to everything.
I like that. That is really nice.
The ultimate form of complete and total trust for Clark. And it's like, because again, it's very, because particularly if like they get together very early and this is the first, and he can even make it and say, you are the first person I've ever brought into the fortress. And Diana is like floored at that's the amount of trust that this man has in me, that he is willing to like to let his like safe haven be accessed by me. So that's kind of cool. And then again, he makes it more of like a home, and then the fortress starts to become more of like a hybrid of like their like cultures as well.
Yes. It's all about, I would say, to sum it all up, it's just a celebration of culture.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. That is literally what it is. And then you can even make it where like the other thing that, and then after they get married, the first Valentine's Day where they get married, Clark. So obviously we would do like we would take a lot of New 52 elements. We could take that like the fortress sigil, like is like detachable, like the House of El Sigil. So he places it on her gauntlets and says, in the Kryptonian culture, the when two people get married, the wife wears the crest of her betrothed. So she walks around with like a Superman logo as well.
Yes, it's kind of like the McDuffie, or yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that were, even though under better circumstances, of course,
Mhm.
of him not dead, but him, she will wear the symbol on her gauntlets. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and you can have it where like Diana go, or like Kara goes, quite honestly, I thought you two were already married because you wear his colors and you guys bicker like a married couple.
Exactly.
I love in our universe, everyone thinks they're either together or it's like knew it was going to happen at some point.
I mean, that's not just our universe. That was basically DC, you know, at some point. Um, it's just now they're lazy and afraid to show this type of, as I said, is very much just a soap opera and drama. And DC just doesn't have the creativity or capacity to do so.
Yeah, exactly. So then we get to Black Panther and Storm.
All right, so with this couple, it's basically the same thing of their love language is royalty and reverence, and it's, you know, king, well, kings and queens, but king celebrating his queen. Um, honestly, is again going on the bird app spaces with these couple pairings and, you know, the back and forth things, and to see, you know, Black Panther and Storm compared to Clark and Diana in a superficial way, a negative way, you know, to try to belittle both pairings, to think that, oh, Black Panther and Storm are the prominent, you know, black couple, and that's it. But again, when you do a deep dive into their relationship, they started off as friends, best friends, grew up together, they understand each other. So they understand each other's value as well, and know, you know, what makes them um, compatible in what they love and fight for. So with this, it's very much just a celebration of Wakanda, and how Storm is just like Diana, being the um, like this mother nature type figure, and she might create some type of storm, literal, you know, in Wakanda, but it's mostly to create a rainbow or something, or some, you know, something that just fulfills that natural beauty within Wakanda. And um, T'Challa, he just makes sure that Storm is happy.
And I could see T'Challa giving Storm like a necklace or piece of jewelry that has a lightning bolt on it.
Oh yeah, that's sweet.
And you can imagine, I think that what she would give him, if I had to come up with something that'd be really cool, probably she gives him like, oh, I know. She gives him basically a vibranium like dagger that she weathers with like. Oh, I know what she does. What she does is she uses her storm powers with sand to make him like a glass like sculpture of the Black Panther.
Oh, I can see that. I can definitely see that.
And then T'Challa is such a Chad. He puts it on his armrest on his throne. He's like, "Yep, my queen made that. Suck it." Obviously, he would say it less vulgarity, but you know what I mean.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So speaking of wackadoos, Batman, Catwoman.
Okay, so this is definitely just an adrenaline rush for Batman and Catwoman, but you also have Talia in the mix. Honestly, I would say that DC should play on both relationships.
They
Batcat
kind of
is
do a little bit.
they stopped with Talia because of Morrison, and that whole thing. They're trying to do it now, but they're still leaning more on Selena, or well, the new love interest in the Batman book. But just going back to Batcat and Talia, um, of course you have the Batcat chase, and Selena, she is going to do what she wants to do. She is the one that doesn't want to be declawed. She wants to keep her independence, but at the same time, it is a relationship that she does want on her time. Um, so when you have something like that and you're not exclusive, this is basically an open relationship. Of course, Talia can come in and play on the emotions that she and Bruce did share at some point. But the one thing that I don't like is when they try to put, oh, he should be with Talia because they have Damien. Honestly, Damien has nothing to do with this. This is just those feelings that they have are still there.
Those are those people that think that Bruce would be locked into one relationship because of the kid, like applying like the Clois thing, even though that's not really a locking thing. By NJ says Batcat is the most annoying ship. It's just tiresome. The fans can be tiresome, but I really like it because again, it's like they both understand the suffering in this city and they both understand it. And Barry says, sometimes I sit and wonder how different the average opinion would be if DC had done Superman and Wonder Woman rather than Clois post-crisis.
Well, that was the original idea, actually.
Really? Elaborate.
Clark and Diana were supposed to be the official couple of post-crisis. That was something that Perez was setting up. It was just, again, Action Comics 600 totally torpedoed it because Byrne wanted Byrne Barn. What do you even say his name?
I think it's Byrne.
Byrne. He wanted Clark to end up with Lana, actually, not Lois. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yes, because Lana played on the girl next door, farm girl. He wanted Clark to have that, go back home to Kansas type mentality. And Diana was quote unquote different because she, you know, um, of course, she's young. She sees this powerful guy, and so she thinks of him as a god. But once she got to know him and, to develop that type of relationship, she sees him not as a god. And that was also something that Perez said in um, the backup issue. And we will probably have to go over that at some point. But it was a tribute to George, and um, it was an interview to basically give the behind the scenes of his Wonder Woman run. So it goes from how it came about of him being the writer. You had Karen, the editor, you know,
Karen Berger.
yeah, being his full-on support, and basically what his plans were for Clark and Diana. And to sum it up with their relationship, he said that in the 50th, uh, 50th anniversary for Wonder Woman, or the 50th issue, he would basically acknowledge their relationship, from what Byrne did, and rectify it to where they do end up together. It was just kind of like this realization that maybe they were moving too fast, or they again had to get to know each other, had to become friends first. And then he also wanted to have um a one shot, a graphic novel called Rendezvous, where
Ah,
they have this, very intimate um relationship to basically explore their physical relationship through the eyes of the gods. So yeah, we were going to have that deep dive of their relationship in post crisis. But again, if the Superman editorial wasn't so fecal about things, then yeah, that's pretty much how it would have gone. Now, would it have lasted? I don't think so, because again, you have editorial that just can't help themselves of ruining things.
yeah, oh, well, yeah, of course. It probably would not have lasted, but you know what? You might as well check out. Who knows at this point? I mean, the other thing that I wanted to bring up about that, and yes, we are going to do an episode on that issue because I actually have it. I picked it up randomly. I didn't know that was in there. I'm like, oh wow. But the other, so a thing that DC is gonna have to wrestle with eventually is how do you keep, because the thing is, if it's like pre post crisis, the funny thing about John Byrne is, like, didn't he have Superman kiss a 15-year-old Lana Lang?
Because he has an obsession with Lana, yes.
I knew that was a thing. And the funny part about that is that Generations is not a bad storyline, all three of them, until that point. Then it completely ruins it. I'm like, oh, come on.
I believe it was actually said that Generations was that bad that it ruined DC Elseworlds. Like, that is why Elseworlds pretty much ended.
Really? That I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, John Byrne, I will say his Wonder Woman run was pretty decent. Barry Cameron says, honestly, have Talia just be the stepmother, not evil, who reforms the League of Assassins. You could do that. So I had this idea, Britt. So here's a funny thing you could do with the story. Are you ready? You ready?
Yes.
All right. Talia and Selena come to a deal that Talia gets him from 9 a.m. to 5, and then from 5 to like however long it's Selena. So he has to spend Valentine's Day with both women.
So you're basically having them do the Zaw weekend movie song.
Essentially. And then Bruce goes, do I have a say in this? And then they both say in sync, no.
So that song actually works for them.
Oh, and then Guy Gardner leans in and goes, bro, enjoy this while it lasts.
So tell me this. When did you hear that song, Jared?
I didn't hear it. I just thought I thought of the story right there, right now. I was like,
Well,
oh, okay.
Well, after the stream, I would definitely have you listen to the song, because it's kind of like that song is definitely what you just described.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, really? That was random.
Yes.
Wow, we really are in sync. My God. But yeah, and then you could have the other thing that I think would be nice is if Damian does a little something that, like, he wants to get Selena something as well. He goes, it's just a symbolic gesture to say that, yeah, you may not be my birth mother, but you are someone that's important to my father, and I accept you as well.
I mean, I think that was the the intent of Tom King, you know,
Oh God, that man's
but
intent and actions are two very different things.
right. I think someone else tried to write, you know, Selena and Damien, um, at least be cordial to a certain extent and have this understanding, you know, even bond over Damien's love for the animals. So yeah, they could definitely have this, you know, that whole relationship work.
The other thing that I could do, so the way I would do this story is you could have it where like Batman like texts Selena and goes, okay, meet me at this rooftop at this time period and like come as Catwoman. So Selena shows up on the rooftop, but she discovers Bruce has set up a big blanket with like a nice romantic dinner. He says, this is the roof where we first met.
Aw, sap.
Like he makes a mental note of that, and then it's like, and then with Talia, it's more of like they come to an understanding that like, yeah, they know they can't be together, but they will always care for each other. And yes, Talia's not gonna be evil, Grant Morrison.
Right. She should never be evil.
No, because she's really not. So let's talk about Supreme and Glory.
Okay, so this relationship is very um extreme, if you will.
that pun intended.
Yes. Of what antis or detractors think of Superman and Wonder Woman, because this is the toxic relationship that they want Clark and Diana's relationship to be. Um, Supreme is very, he puts duty first at the expense of his relationship, and you know, he just very bad at this romantic thing. But um Glory, she continues to give him chances because she loves him so. And so that's pretty much what you're going to play onto this relationship is very much this honestly the only toxic in a way relationship that can work because it is playing on that um it's very PG bomb queen, I would say.
Okay. That's quite a statement there, Britt.
I mean, because you have this exaggeration of the extreme, you
True.
know, the artwork, the, you know, it, you can definitely tell that they censored some of the things of it, but if it was written by the Bomb Queen creator, you know that this it would be that for sure. It definitely fits into that environment.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. That's really cool. And yeah, Supreme and Glory. This is the thing where I'm thinking I may have to start picking up these comics because I love even Rob Liefeld's like, yeah, Superman and Wonder Woman. I'm like, thank you. It is. You know what's kind of funny, Britt? Covering all these indie couples and like Marvel couples that we do, it never ceases to piss me off and amaze me that the Superman and Wonder Woman characters are always together.
Well, yes, because they see the creativeness and, you know, potential of Superman and Wonder Woman. The thing is, even DC sees it. It's just the fact that it's not the traditional relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I like I like it when they're allowed to buck the trends. I mean, even Marvel put their rip-off Superman and Wonder Woman's together, Hyperion and Power Princess. So
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you guys doing? Thor had two of them.
Again, it is all about, you know, traditional and especially with Clark and Diana with their supporting cast too. You
Yeah.
have to keep them relevant.
Yeah,
Um,
and Barry brings up that it's only forced or too easy when it comes to Superman and Wonder Woman. They're happy. Well, here's the thing on that forced and too easy. Because again, I did the video on Cheetah not being a good love interest for Wonder Woman. By the way, still getting a good response. But it opened my eyes to something. Most people that are against Super Wonder just want the toxic ships, like the ones that are very emotionally abusive on the characters, just so they can have, as Tomasi says, drama. And I go, that's why I'm against like forced drama, because all that does because that's just lazy writing, to quote Deadpool. Because again, it's like, look, you can, if you're forcing drama for drama's sake, emphasis on forced, that's gonna hamper down your story. With Super Wonder, it's like, no, you just have to write more creative stories in order to challenge them. Actually, no, you don't. Because you know what's kind of funny, Britt? Charles will show this. You don't have to do much.
You don't. And honestly, it's very contradictory and a double standard, because you're too easy. Okay, how is that too easy, but Clark and Lois isn't? Or Diana and Steve. You
Oh, that's
don't
too
really,
obvious. You're making Clark and Lois obvious by not allowing him to date anyone else.
right. I mean, they are expected to end up together at some point. Again, the 2025 movie, just have them together outright without any type of anything. Even the little drama that Gunn tried to have, it's still the fact that his ending was for them to be together.
Watch.
So
I would love if the next movie, if like Man Tomorrow doesn't do well, and the next movie they're like, okay, he's with Wonder Woman now, we're done. They break off screen, and I could be like,
that's
how does it feel?
that's true. I mean, that's very much a pipe dream, but it would be funny,
Yeah.
entertaining.
Barry says, if you only find Lois interesting when she's in a relationship with Clark, then you don't actually. That's the other thing. You know what's kind of funny? People say my hatred of Lois is like is like misogynist, first off, and I'm like, I want him to date Wonder Woman. I don't know where that comes from, but the point is, when you look at Lois, she has the same issue Steve does. She cannot stand outside of Clark. Whenever she gets her own book, it flops, as in the case of the Rucka book. Funny how that ends up. But it's like, or her book has to be called Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane, including the book where she does blackface. I bring that up every single time because I find it hilarious that's the. So for those of you that don't know, Britt and I have been at this debating Chloe's thing a long time. And someone in my comments said, well, Lois is not a failure as a character. She had a very successful series in the 70s, or like whenever that series was. And I'm like, you mean the series that's called Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane, where she does blackface? You really want to hold that up?
And not only that, but the entire series is about her doing some stupid stuff for her um to get Superman to marry her. Like, that's the entire idea of the book. And also, it's having Lana or Diana or any other female character to end up, basically crapped on, to say, oh, Superman will end up with Lois. No, that is not a book that you could say was actually successful on its own merit, to show Lois being this independent, self-assured type female empowerment, character. No.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then, oh yeah, X-Men Superfan, you're in the right place, my friend. I love Scott and Emma. And then NJ says, Super Wonder won't exist as long as Lois exists as a character. That would be hilarious. But anyway, so let's move on to the actual storytelling part of the stream. So now, correct me if I'm wrong, Britt. Just so I don't understand this. So if this existed, it would be basically an anthology comic book or like series that's like all how each of the couples do Valentine's Day, right?
Exactly. It's just basically how Marvel and DC are doing their crossover right now, like with the Batman and Deadpool, Superman and Spider-Man. Well, we are doing that same concept, but with an anthology of power couples.
All right. And since I went first, you mind if I go first again?
Of course.
So my story is called As Precious as Diamonds. Yes, I am good at puns. But So obviously it stars Scott Summers and Emma Frost. So following a battle with Magneto, Scott is really like they want to spend Valentine's Day as a normal couple. Normal as in air quotes. You know what I mean by normal. So they get dressed up and go clubbing, and it's like, so I had them go clubbing because when Emma turns to diamonds, they like disco lights reflect off her diamond skin, so she's actually essentially a walking disco ball. So I wanted to do that. And then what happens next is, so they grab drinks, and so what Scott does, and this is all before the dinner I told you about earlier in the stream. So Emma talks about how this is the first Valentine's Day where she's actually like participated instead of like trying to manipulate someone, because obviously when she was like a villain, she used it to manipulate people into giving her secret stuff. But she says this is the first time I've actually celebrated Valentine's Day as a woman and stuff without the threat of manipulation. And then Scott says, well, we're going to have something else to celebrate there. So Scott gets down on one knee, takes out a diamond ring, and says, Emma Frost, you are as precious to me as diamonds, ... I think you can fill in the rest.
Aw, that's really sweet.
I wanted to do a proposal for that one because I figured that would be actually a pretty dope way to end this, and a way to like bring the relationship full circle. And it's like, it's not one of like manipulation. It's just them being actually like, and so what happens that as Scott like slides the ring on Emma's hand, she mentally projects the images of all of their happy memories together. And she basically shows him in like a mental slideshow where she started as the White Queen, enemy of the X-Men, to where she is now, to show how much of a positive impact he has had on her life.
Aw, so sappy.
I know. I'm very sappy when it comes to stuff. But it's because Scott and Emma are my favorite ship when it comes to X-Men and X-Men Superfan. Yep, I got you, bro. But yeah, and obviously this wouldn't be like we're going to paint them as villains. In fact, what we could do is when she gets to like him being a revolutionary leader, them going through a rough patch, it's more like we both made mistakes, but we're better for it. And then Emma goes, of course, darling. After all, the most precious diamonds are formed with pressure.
Aw.
And then and then they go back, have the romantic dinner, and then it's like they announce to the X-Men that they're engaged, and like Nightcrawler and Colossus are both like, called it.
So where's Jean in this? I just want to be messy.
You petty woman. Let me see. Where is Jean? Where could Jean be in chat? You also can help me out on this. I would have to say with Jean. So do you want me to be petty or not petty?
Both of you have an idea for it.
Well, if I want to be petty, Jean's dead.
All right.
Yeah, Cameron agrees with me. If I don't want to be petty, it's more of Jean essentially like, so Scott essentially, actually, here's what happens. Jean comes up and basically congratulates them both, and then basically tells them that, you know what, it may not have been the best circumstances, but Scott clearly has feelings for you and loves you, so he should be with you. Because what that's playing off of is that there were X-Men comics where like they'll be like having sex or something like that, and then like images of Jean will pop up, and Emma's cool with it. I'm like, what? Like, Britt, legit, they're making out, and then all of a sudden images of Jean pop up, and Scott goes, sorry about that. And then Emma goes, no, it's okay. You can't help what pops into your mind. And I go, what the hell is going on? It was in a really bad X-Men story.
Well, if it was written the right way, I think it's more so playing off of Emma being so secure, and self-assured. So that's probably why it that could work. That honestly can be in character for her because she knows that Scott is with her. So even if he does have images of, you know, Jean in his mind, Emma basically feels like, okay, but that's your past and I'm your present and future or whatever. Just feels like she has that self assurance.
Well, and also it helps that in the time of the storyline, Jean's dead, so it's not like he's going to go back to her or anything like that. But yeah, so let me ask you this, Britt: how would you handle Jean in this story with everything I set up?
Um, I mean, honestly, yeah, she's dead because I don't really know the character. So yeah, go ahead and just have her dead.
Yeah, Cameron goes, I mean, to be fair, Scott has been with Jean since they were teens. Yeah, I'll give him that and stuff. So then we get to the light of love. So this is Hal joining Carol Ferris, obviously. So Hal is trying to make sure this Valentine's Day goes off without a hitch. The only problem is he doesn't know what to get Carol. So he's like, you guys gotta, he summons all the Green Lanterns. He even goes, Jessica, you're a girl. How do I do this? So Jessica basically tells him just do like X-Men Superman says Jean being a cosmic diva and doing stuff in space over her need for human romance. Overcome. That works. She could just be like a space adventurer. That works. So anyway, back to this. So what Hal and Carol is just as nervous because in this storyline they are engaged and she's nervous that like they'll mess it up again, but when they both meet, so what she does, she takes the entire weekend off from Ferris Aircraft. She does I'm not to be disturbed under any circumstances. She meets Hal on top of like an aircraft hangar and they have a picnic, and basically they have a conversation about the fact that yeah, they've had issues in the past, they've broken up, but they've always managed to find their way back to each other no matter what happens. So it's like at this point, so Hal goes, at this point, if it isn't fate that we end up together, I don't know what is. So they kiss, and then Hal makes a fireworks show with his ring, and then he and Carol make constructs of themselves, and then the constructs kiss.
No.
Yeah, and then it's basically he gives her the necklace that says "My Sapphire." She gives him the plane, and it's basically actually no. Here's what it says. Oh, guys, like I could screw with you both, but I love you both. I'm going to help. Yeah, exactly. There you go, Cameron. That's a good one. So Hal essentially says, "Carol, thank you for being my guiding light."
That is so sweet. And yes, he does need a guide and some light. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like and he brings up that moment I talked about where his ring was out of charge and all he thought about was the sight of her, and that motivated him to push forward. So he basically says, "You've always been the motivation that I needed to overcome great fear," referencing the Green Lantern oath.
Sweet.
So, Britt, tell me about Sunrise Beyond the World.
All right. So again, Clark and Diana, of course, their Valentine's is not just for them. It is to celebrate life itself, and and just to know that this is what they're protecting. So you have before dawn, Clark takes Diana outer space, and it is basically a play on Jim Lee's Justice League 12 cover, you know, the with the sun in the background and you have Earth at the bottom. So that is pretty much what this story um, entails, just bringing that picture or cover to life. So they are in space, silence, and he holds her and just let her take in the whole entire atmosphere. Take her, she's taken in, the whatever she can see within the distance of space, and then but seeing the earth from that perspective. He's basically sharing what he can see with her. Um, and it would be no words for this story. It would just be a silence type thing, and it's just the art that's speaking for the story.
That works. And what you could also do, so essentially, it's a silent issue. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's just them. In a sense, you're just seeing what they see. You see what Diana sees, what Clark sees, and we are seeing what they see.
I like that. That works. And you could also like make it where Clark also makes her a telescope, like her own te- telescope to have in her apartment.
I like that.
So then we get to a storm in the Golden City.
So, playing on basically what we said earlier, that you have a storm creating storms, but it is those a a rainstorm that actually fulfills, the naturalness and the garden of Wakanda. And you have the people playing in the rain and, just having fun, being everyone being together and just free of life and, celebrating each other. Um, you also have T'Challa, where he's also, in a sense, while Storm wants to be more everyone joins in, T'Challa wants it to be more private for them to just be together and look over, Wakanda together. And again, it is that you have her perspective, and then you get his perspective, and then you get both of their perspective.
I like that a lot. That really works. And yeah, I really like that. That's a good story. And so then we get to Rooftop Hearts and Stolen Kisses,
So again, you have to be a little messy. This is the bittersweet
which is
story.
why I use the top left image.
Yeah, you have the bittersweet story in the perspective of Talia, where she knows that Bruce is he she's a part of his heart and he is a part of hers. Um, but they can't be together just under so much pressure and this complication that it's probably them making it complicated. But also another side of his heart is and also his mind is so dedicated to chasing after Selena. And you also have where Selena, she likes to play the game of chase, and she purposely steals something, some type of heart-shaped diamond, um, to attract Bruce, of course, to the rooftop. And they have this moment together where even honestly, I would say GCPD knows that
Mhm.
Selena, steal uh, things for Batman to chase her. So it's kind of like a ongoing thing with them. She's not going to be caught by the GCPD, even if Batman supposedly catches her, he's going to romance her too. So everyone in Gotham knows Batman and Catwoman is something going on with them. And Talia, she is in the shadows, seeing this unfold, and she wonders how would it have been with her and Bruce, to be known like that in the shadows of Gotham. But at the same time, she doesn't let him go, but does let him go because she is um, also loyal to her father.
I like that. I like that. That works. And again, you can play off of like Damien and showing his acceptance, Selena, only done infinitely better than Tom King. That's not
Right.
really hard to
And
do, but
and that's also a thing too, is that Talia, she She loves Damien. So if Damien accepts Selena, she will accept her too. It's just that it's still that bittersweetness of the family that she could have had.
I like that. I like that. So then you get to when Titans rest.
So after a catastrophe, um, Supreme he actually wants to have a moment with Glory, to actually sit and like have a nice dinner or something like that. So she's very skeptical and side eyeing, like, okay, what else is going to happen next? So you have this, um, so she doesn't really believe that he wants to do something as quiet as that. So she offers, training or something, something that he would usually be into. But they actually decide to do both, to just have fun and be themselves instead of, always going out and playing, well, not playing, but, being hero and just being alone together. And that is all Glory has ever wanted, was for them to take a break and just be themselves.
Yeah, I like that. That works. So those are the couples. So you can let us know, everyone, what you guys thought was which one you enjoyed the most. The other thing that I could see is so there was a period in this where Supreme had to leave and like he said goodbye to Glory. You could make it where every, like, let's say every year on Valentine's Day, so she doesn't have to go through Valentine's Day alone. He comes home for one day so they can have a day together.
That works too. That is really nice.
That's playing off of like one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies where, by so Britt, have you seen the Pirates of the Caribbean movies?
Mm, mm, kind of, sort of. I wasn't really interested. I think
Okay.
I think the first one I did, um, and the latest one, but in betweeners, no.
That's quite a split. So anyway, there's the idea that Davy Jones can be on land for one day, and then he has to be on the sea ferrying souls. So you could play off of that. But if I could go back, a couple of things that you could do with like Storm and T'Challa is like Storm puts on a little light show for T'Challa using lightning.
Oh yeah, like a little fireworks, but or something like that. Mhm.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And essentially, so it's you could also do it with Batcat. What I could see Bruce doing for Talia during his, like, let's say couple of hours with her for doing she has him for the morning, Selena has him for the evening. What he essentially does is essentially like, it's not like they go out as like to like fight crime and stuff, but it's like maybe they like train together like in the Batcave and stuff, and that way it's like because yeah, she met him as Bruce Wayne, but she met him as Bruce Wayne training to become Batman.
Right, that's definitely something that should be played on too. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like too many people don't want to do that. It's like it's too many. See, here's the thing with Batman and Talia, and Selena. Too many writers just want to crap on one to prop up the other. And as I've said many times, if you have to crap on one relationship to prop up another, maybe there's a problem with it. But with Talia, I get it, because at this point, the general audience knows that Batman should be with Catwoman. By the way, there was a brief time period, Britt, where they tried to make Catwoman bisexual. Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
And notice that didn't last. But anyway, the thing about I get that, like, for right now, it's unlikely they're going to put Bruce and Talia back together. But at the very least, you can make it where like Talia is like an ally. And Cameron brought up a great point. Catwoman's still bisexual. Okay, it's not referenced or anything like that, but that's my point. And she hasn't appeared in a Pride issue, so that there's a big difference there. There's a big difference there, X-Men Superfam. But my point is, I like Cameron's idea of her of Talia like trying to reform the League. Like she gets it from her father, and she tries to turn it more into an organization to protect the to be essentially champions of the oppressed, but from the shadows, if you know what I mean.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then for SuperWonder, so I mentioned the telescope, and then he basically shows Diana where Krypton used to be, and then Diana, because it's a silent issue, what you do is Diana just leans in, and kisses him on the cheek, basically saying, "I'm here for you."
Oh.
And then X-Men Superfan says the destroying of one couple for another happened with Corey and Nightwing when Tom Taylor took Nightwing because he shipped with Barbara and kind of torpedoed. Oh yeah, exactly. That's the other thing that's kind of weird. And when Britt and I did the Corey and Nightwing issue, that was one of the things that episode. That was one of the things that we ran into, because it's like, I'm like, look, the problem with this is like. First off, here's what people have to understand about the Corey relationship. It's unlikely, unless things drastically change, that it won't happen, because here's the problem. Yeah, because as Brett, I believe you've told me this, DC editorial is such that they don't want the Bat Family characters with non-Bat Family with super powered people, because they think it makes the Bat Family characters look inadequate.
Exactly. Yeah. They actually, okay. So the thing with Nightwing and Starfire, they really started messing their relationship up. Um, I would say, well, it was in post-crisis, and there is actually two instances, no, three, that I know of, that they tried to make, Starfire seem very shady, but she's this sexy alien chick. Um, and Barbara is the sweet, girl next door, kind of like Lana, and she can't compete with Starfire. Um, and Corey sort of lies to Nightwing while he's in the shower to say, who was it? And she says something about the pizza guy, or something like that. But yeah, you have Barbara basically leaving in tears, embarrassed that Corey is there. Um, then you have where Grayson sleeps with Barbara the night of the night before his wedding to Corey.
Oh
Um,
God.
and the morning after, he gives Barbara the invitation to the wedding. Um, and the last page that I've seen for with Grayson and Corey, she asks him, is he in love with her, or do he love her, and does he love her? And he says no, flat out. And it's so embarrassing how, they have torpedoed these relationships again, yeah, for other relationships, which is totally unnecessary. Because if you let the story flow naturally, if that relationship ends, it ends, you know, in a natural way. But
But
having
that's
these
hard,
characters,
Brett.
right, it is, because having these characters so unlikable, so obsessed with one character, antagonistic, and again the whole revisionist thing, I can't stand. And you see that a lot even with Superman and Wonder Woman. You have where Clark is obsessed with Diana. He's dreaming about her. He, you know, is everything is about her, until editorial felt like, oh, well, now we want him with Lois. So, no, his feelings were either never there, act like he never there, and 180 it to where it's Diana the one that's supposedly pining after him, or like in Wonder Woman 141, they shared a dream together where he wanted to marry her. He wanted to, live this life. And it was a callback to pretty much what Perez was setting up. At the end, of course, they say that, it was just a dream. He says part of it he wished was true. And he wanted that with her. But reality, he is with someone else. He loves someone else and everything like that. So that was very bittersweet and heartbreaking. But
So yeah.
then they
Mhm.
they bring up um the storyline again, and now it's the Superman book. And you have Clark, coming to Diana, being a pest, wanting her attention and everything. She tried to keep her distance from him. And she says, okay, well, if you're going to, basically be a pest, then I'll let you in. So once she let him into the Wonder Dome, um, she it the Wonder Dome is Diana's conscience, and so you get to see, what's in her mind, her deep thoughts, her emotions, and everything like that. So she shares that with Clark, and but in his mind, it's just Lois. So he gets angry with Diana that she revealed that, and he, goes off on her, and it basically confirms that he's only with Lois, which again is very much a bait and switch thing and a revisionist thing because they did share that dream together. It wasn't just Diana's dream, or it wasn't just a he's with Lois and being mean towards Diana because of those feelings. And then you turn around and have him go to therapy because he still has feelings for Diana. So this back and forth thing, I do like the messiness at some points and the drama because you have to have that. But when you have these characters become antagonistic towards each other instead of maturely writing their, feelings. If you want these characters to be supposedly human, write them as that. Don't write them as these basically as the gods, going back and forth and not really having the true, emotions that they should.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that the writers won't. It's like it's the other reason why again I'm still against the you have to have drama or it has to be a messy ship because I'm like, look, I get that some of amount of mess is fine drama, but I just do not trust these writers and characters and quite frankly fans to actually do it organically instead of just doing it for the sake of having drama.
Right. What I don't like when it comes to the toxic relationships or toxic, I don't like it when, well, basically, yeah, like Wonder Woman and Cheetah. First of all, Greg Rucka's version of Cheetah is not the original version, and it's not the version that's the majority.
Hmm.
Um, he tried to have her being sympathized with for her to be the victim, but she was never the victim. She's the one that corrupted the cheetah. And to romanticize the fact that Barbara has Minerva tried to manipulate Diana, tried to kill her in a sense. She wanted power, greed. She corrupted again this African spirit. She um she is racist, and to like I said, to romanticize this, to say, oh, Diana can fix her and or something like that. No, that's not what Diana is supposed to do. And that does not equate to a romantic relationship either. And also that's going into absolute Wonder Woman as well with the with Zatanna's new iteration is I'm seeing a lot of fan arts that has absolute Wonder Woman all bloodied and bruised and like romanticizing that to say that she, is bound by Zatanna, um, and Zatanna controls her and stuff. You are romanticizing abuse. That that is not okay.
Oh, and by the way, NJ says that Cheetah has evolved as a character, but I'm like, yeah, but they keep bringing her back to being this. Because here's the thing again, Cheetah is known as being a Wonder Woman villain by the general audience. They're never going to make her anything more than that.
Not really. She really hasn't evolved because, yeah, she goes back to that same origin. It does not make sense. The cheetah has to be corrupted by Barbara in some type of way.
Yeah. Oh, and also I love again, Rucka went through this big storyline. The purpose of this of the Cheetah and Cheshire to rob the Justice League is so he can have the storyline of like Cheetah getting like redemption and like conquering the spirit. That was already done in the It was literally the previous Wonder Woman run. NJ says anti-hero Cheetah is the current one. Anti-hero, she tried to rob the Justice League and was eating people.
Yeah, and by Rucka.
Yeah, by Waka again. Yeah, isn't that an interesting factor there? I just love that. But so then let's get to our reviews. And again, it's very rare that Britt has all positive reviews, but let's do this. All right, Green Lantern 16.
All right, so we're still in the absolute power tie-ins. We're almost done though, which is kind of like, okay, this I didn't know that this was so long, like to be a tie-in for this nothing burger of an event. But you are um still moving the plots, and Jeremy Adams is still trying to, you know, not take away too much because he is so locked in to absolute power. So he does have Hal continue on with what's going on with this cosmic conflict. You have John Stewart and Guy Gardner and everyone, basically joining the fight. It is a civil corpse type war.
Mm-hmm.
You have the artwork is very good still.
It's Romanico, baby.
It's a lot going on still, within this, and it does feel like it's very much jam packed because you have to deal with absolute power and the storyline that Jeremy actually wants to tell. But you do have some character moments. You do see Carol here. You have the moments with the lanterns and everything. So it is still good. It still, keeps the momentum going. It's just the fact that so much is jammed together. So I did give it a 7.5 out of 10. But as I said, the artwork is really what continues to grab you.
Exactly. It definitely is. And Zermanico's art never ceases to like amaze me. And it's the other thing I really like about this is the character development that Carol gets because Carol really gets to because remember this is Carol's like first time being a superhero, so she has to like adjust to that, and she's even like, I don't even know how to use a spaceship, and then Hal goes, you know how to use a fighter jet, so it's basically the same thing.
Right.
And then I like the whole reference to the Lantern's entity, the Predator. That's going to be very important for the story continuing on, because when we get to this point in the story, because trust me, this is all building towards something pretty big. I will point it out to you because there's something that this plot is setting up. That when I was watching this, I was like, "Oh, that's genius." Robert and I both called each other that day when it came out, and we were like, "You believing this happened?" But yeah, so it's very hard to talk about it without spoiling it, so I won't. But yeah, I definitely agree that like a lot of this stuff Maybe it's like there's a reason all of the emotional spectrum stuff is going haywire. So it's not just like there for their sake.
Right. And you also have Hal and John, showing their partnership too, and well, this was written before the Lanterns, um, or after the announcement.
I think it was after, I want to say.
Okay, so DC has to have their synergy somewhere, but at least you don't have an old man Hal.
Oh yeah, exactly. But NJ says green in reference to Wonder Woman Cheetah being toxic. Green Arrow and Black Canary are toxic too, and yet most cherish it.
Yes. The only reason why these relationships are cherished and not questioned and accepted is because it falls into the traditional aspects.
And there's a way there like this way. Dinah and Ollie have been written really well. It's just like when you take into account everything Hal has done, it's like I'm not really that convinced on it. And then
Exactly.
NJ says, yet these two are toxic, but most fans in DC values them for some reason. Who knows at this point? So we get to Bomb Queen 16, and this is the one where. So basically, it's a world building issue. BQ and her cat have some really fun dialogue, particularly now that you discover that like he's a demon that's inhabiting a cat body. Everything makes sense now that I understand that. And the art is extremely gory, all of the boys, which still works for the tone of the book. And I like the kind of Pleasantville storyline. And what I mean by that, Marvel did a storyline called Pleasantville, where it turns out the superheroes were actually no, it wasn't the superheroes. It was Shield was mentally brainwashing the supervillains that they captured to be like responsible citizens and putting them in basically a 1950s era town where they just hang out. Like Red Skull was the mailman or something like that. But that's like that's kind of what like I thought of writing this. I also like the idea where there's this like blog site that's being scooped up by Newsarama that no one trusts because no one trusts Newsarama. And then we have like more superheroes are being sent to the city. I couldn't have Bomb Queen's like cover or any like new costume in this because a lot is exposed and I don't know how much would get this stream demonetized.
Right. You are going to go a little bit more into you're gonna go into some more like gory, like adulty type, you know, things. But yeah, it is showing you the world building of heroes and that hero perspective. Also, the meta commentary of the not only the superhero community of fiction, but also the fans and yeah, comic book sites as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's and you know what? It's like with Bomb Queen, there was still like the regular vulgar stuff, but it was a little less. Again, I noticed that the world building issues are the easier to get through, but it's like we'll see what happens as this arc goes on because I think I'm on Bomb Queen 5 is what this is included. So we'll see what actually happens with that. So Britt, let's talk about that amazing Absolute Wonder Woman annual.
All right, so you get to see Diana really in her element of going all around the world, traveling to help, you know, to help everyone. That is her thing. She is, also as she's going through her mission, she's praying to Athena to help her. And Athena comes, you know, finally to answer her prayer, and she's very annoyed with Diana. But you also see flashbacks of younger Diana and how she, asks questions and she talks. She has such this um, unique perspective and so intelligent to be so young. She's very outspoken. She speaks a lot, And I would say the only thing that kind of, and I know why Kelly probably did this, was to stay on the fence just a little bit. She didn't deep dive too much into Medusa's story, but at the same time, it's still that ending and just her purpose of Diana trying to understand, the about curses or about, people being in pain and the suffering and, wanting someone to feel better. And as I said, Kelly didn't go too much into the story so much, but at the same time, it's how Diana is having her own emotional battle as well. Um, Also, the one thing that I would say is that you had to have a little bit of Batman glaze there. It was just a very small panel, but it is,
Hmm.
to say, oh, Bruce is powerless. How can he do this or whatever? It's kind of like, Diana, just because you don't have powers is not that you're incapable of doing things. That was the one thing that kind of gave a, a side eye, but it was just so quick that you'll miss it. So I wasn't gonna take points off of that.
Yeah, and it's a joke, so I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but that ending where Diana takes the curse or, from Medusa and she she wants to take the pain away from so many people and how she changes people or, as well, and she sees monsters and demons and gods, mythological beings or whatever. She sees them just as them. She doesn't see them no more or no less. And she wants to help. That's all she wants to do is help. And it really gave you that, um, it put me in a mindset that I was reading kind of like a George Perez issue too. Because that Perez Diana, she was so loving without being naive, and also the fact that Kelly acknowledged that Diana is human, even if she was born of clay, in that magical sense, Diana is still, she still has the origin of the purest form of human,
Yeah,
being made of earth. She is still human above all else. And that really, to see that being acknowledged again, that's pretty much why I got a 10 out of 10 for me. And also,
also, can we please talk about how awesome Absolute Athena's design is?
yeah, that was very different. She does have the golden chicken armor, but it's not as bad as the regular chicken armor that we see in, Kingdom Come or when they tried to have it in 1984 or the main line.
Also, she has the owl features, like she has talons on her feet and she hangs on a tree, but she's not a literal owl woman.
That right.
All right, the
Yeah,
other thing I love where Diana's playing chess with just the helmet.
right. Right. That Yeah, that those little moments, of Diana, even though she's not with her Amazon sisters and her mother, Diana is still learning from the goddesses. She's still learning from Cersei and stuff like that. So it does not feel too much that she's missing, and
Mhm.
it kind of feels like they're giving her a little bit more, now that to compensate for her not being with the Amazons. You can also tell the difference with how comfortable Kelly is because with her writing Diana like this, it's kind of a little bit different than her writing with the supporting cast. It feels like it's just solely on Diana. And maybe it's because with them not being involved, the the fan base too is not taken away from Diana.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing I really love about this is that continuing on, I also love the way this issue starts. Diana's in the helmet. She goes, "I am Diana. And which one of you wants to wear my helmet?" And
Yes,
you're seeing the warm, motherly figure that is Diana, and it is just so refreshing. That's why I keep defending Absolute Wonder Woman, Britt, because we don't see this. Even before Tom King, we didn't see this Diana.
well, okay, well, with Rebirth, of course not, because this is, established that Rebirth Diana was a mental case and that she did not have any type of feeling if, she wasn't around Steve or she just was a mouthpiece for everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, it's very rare that we see like this level of empathy. But I also love, so they're playing off of the fact that each of Kelly is clearly playing off the fact that each of the female gods gave Diana powers, because in practically every issue, Diana is getting the counsel of like each of the goddesses that I assume gave her powers. The other thing I really love about
Exactly.
this, other thing I really love about this is that Kelly is clearly aware that the different versions of Greek stories change drastically. Like, obviously, there's the R word story when it comes to Medusa, but there's also the one that she willingly went with Poseidon to screw over Athena, and that's why she was turned. That's what Athena talks about. But it's like with this, it's like it doesn't really matter like what like the version of the storyline. Even when Diana turned into Medusa, she goes, I saw the world through your eyes, and I saw how much of a torture it is. I also love, so to get to Medusa and be able to free her, Diana goes on, makes a deal with Athena that for the purpose of this adventure, Diana will give up her powers in exchange for her being able to withstand Medusa's stare, so that Medusa can know what it's like to look into someone's eyes again.
And who wouldn't love looking into those big, you know, blue eyes?
I know, it's the more it's that was the part where it really struck me with this issue, because it's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so genius, because it's like, oh yeah, of course, because everyone's closing their eyes or someone's trying to chop her head off. I also love where Athena goes, if the myths were right, Medusa wouldn't have a head because of Perseus and all that stuff. But I'm like, okay, that's really cool. This entire series and this issue particularly really shows Kelly's understanding of Greek mythology, or it was either pre-existing knowledge or she did the research. Because Britt, this is what happens when you have a writer that clearly loves Diana, because you go back through like the important parts of Diana's world, because the gods are kind of important to Diana, and then you have it where where like you reference Greek mythology, but you don't make it all about it. The difference there with Tom King saying, I didn't want to use the gods for the storyline. I was like, well, there's a way to do that and a way to not do that. What you did is the way not to do it, but when you straight up ignore it. What Kelly is doing is she's interweaving the gods with this story that doesn't necessarily involve the gods, but they still play a role in like how Diana approaches it, the lesson that because if you notice, she learns a lesson each and every single issue, and then that lesson is directly like in response to the god that she is having that conversation with.
Exactly.
And also, can I say, it is damn good to see Matea back on Wonder Woman, because, oh my gosh, this looks so gorgeous.
Right. Honestly, I definitely, even if it is like an Elseworlds or something like that, definitely need this art on an ongoing.
Absolutely. Also, I love the panel layouts. Like, look at this bottom one where Diana is praying at this urn, and you see like all the different panels of her saving people. And I like how that is done, because you just see small snapshots of Diana saving people, one panel. You don't need that much, just to show she's saving people. And each and every time she's just praying, help me be able to cure this one person.
Exactly.
And I'm like, if ever there was an issue I say this every absolute Wonder Woman issue, but this one, I mean it. If there was ever an issue that I would give someone and say, this is why Wonder Woman is my favorite DC character, it is literally this issue right now. This will be in a nutshell, this is who Diana is. Because you have the warrior and the fighter part where like she fights villains throughout the city, throughout globally, really. And she fights like Medusa's sisters. Even, well, actually, she doesn't. This is the other great part about this. When she goes to, and she finally reaches Medusa and her sisters, she basically lets them wallop on her and goes, I will not strike you. You can kill me, whatever. I'm not going to strike you in anger.
Right.
But geez, and again, the reason why I harp on the Athena thing is because Athena's my favorite Greek goddess, and it's like just the way the wings expand, the gold. That's the way to do the golden armor really well. And also, it is really cool because obviously Wonder Woman wears a helmet of Athena. That's why her helmet looks very similar to Athena's helmet.
Oh, yeah. At first, it seemed like, well, she is the goddess of war, but it's not so much as Ares type thing now. We have, basically confirmation that it is Athena's influence instead.
Yeah, exactly. I really enjoy that. I think that's really cool. But yeah, so yeah, I agree with you. This issue gets a 10 out of 10. This is by far perfect. And it's like, it is one of the, if not the best Wonder Woman issue that I have read so far. And honestly, Britt, I don't know how you feel about this. I think this is the best issue in the entire absolute Wonder Woman series so far.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, like I have no notes on this. It's well drawn and to a core. It just gets it's just right. But yeah, so I agree that it's gonna be 10 out of 10. So yeah, so that's what we covered. So those are our couples and reviews on Absolute Wonder Woman. By NJ says, I thought of the Batman comment as an empathy toward Bruce. Yeah, it's like, I don't know how Bruce does this without powers. And I took it as, Britt, that's realistically what someone like Diana would say, because she's so dependent on her powers. You could say that when she can't use them anymore, she's like, oh, this is what it feels like.
That's true. And I mean, honestly, for me, I would take it that way too. And I did,
Oh,
that's
by the
why
way,
I said
it was the #2 best-selling comic this week.
right. I take it that way. It's just the fact that Batman still had to be, referenced in some way though.
I think she did that to say that in the timeline of Absolute Wonder Woman, this is where it takes place.
Well, yeah, that could be it.
And plus, it's not like she can like glaze Superman. She hasn't met him yet.
I don't know if you want that either too much. It depends. It really depends.
Yeah, it's like we'll see like how that meeting goes, but yeah, overall it's like let me put it this way: compared to the heinous bat glazing that we've seen like through multiple issues, particularly with Wonder Woman stuff, I think this was very tame.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give it. Yeah, I still give it a 10 out of 10. And you guys can ask us some brief questions before we wrap up. But yeah, so yeah, that was fun, and it's one of those like things real quick. But real quick for this audience, I wanted to show off some of the items I got for my birthday because yesterday was my birthday, so I want to show this off. I got the omnibus for Justice League Dark, the Rebirth series, where Wonder Woman assembled the Justice League Dark. I got this because everyone's telling me this is actually a great Wonder Woman run. So I was like, screw it. I got so Britt, remember the Sentry character from the Thunderbolts?
Uh-huh.
They have an omnibus of all of his stuff.
Hmm.
So I picked that up. I have the Absolute edition of the Death of Simp Man.
Okay, that's your only L.
Come on. I got a Spider-Man trade and a bunch of different issues. But one of the things I did also pick up is this issue from War of the Gods. It is the Atlas Shrugged issue, written by George Perez and drawn by Jill Thompson.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I have a thing where like Wonder Woman has become my impulse buy character, so I'm like I need to buy Wonder Woman issues, and I also got this. So obviously, Britt, we know who Darwin Cook is. He did like a New Frontier and all that stuff, but he also adapted crime novels into comic books. So I got a collection of all the crime novels he adapted.
Oh, that's neat.
It's written and drawn by Darwin. It's all in like 4 colors. So there's like it's really cool. It's really dope.
Mm-hmm.
Man, when you hear, so did you know, Britt, that he actually had to fight that New Frontier was actually rejected before by DC?
Yes, because he had to fight for Diana to be tall.
Not just that, because the thing is, originally it was supposed to be in continuity, and he had to get the approval of every editor for each of the characters he wanted to use, like Flash, Superman, Batman. Obviously, that took a while. And then Paul Lovitz was like, why don't you just make it an out of continuity Elseworlds?
Having that as in continuity with Clark and Diana being besties with benefits would have been funny.
It would have been very funny, but it's like, but it's at that point I was like, I think it works.
It does.
It works better as an Elseworld story because like you want it to be not bogged down with like continuity,
Exactly.
and plus we could say that Wonder Woman and Superman are not touched by a lot of BS that's happened with DC, but there is that. But I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, any other questions from people or from Britt before we hop off for the evening? Any other questions at all? It could be about couples, could be about SuperWonder, whatever you guys would like to talk about, and then we will wrap up. But yeah, so it turns out DCKO 4. By the way, what did you think? Did you read the 4th issue of DCKO?
It was.
Well, not only. Well, here's the thing. Not only did we get a King Wonder Woman getting her ass kicked by Absolute Wonder Woman, once they were snapped out of it, we saw Wonder Woman's sympathy. So Scott Snyder writes a better Wonder Woman than Tom King. I mean,
that's a low bar, but I'm gonna be nice. I
love when Britt's nice. Like, ugh.
I said I was gonna be nice because of today. If we were talking about this issue, like, and it wasn't today, then I would have a lot to say.
But I'm sure you did. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you did. And let me ask you, how would you rate Absolute Wonder Woman if it wasn't on Valentine's Day? Would you still do 10 out of 10?
Honestly, yeah, I would still do 10 out of 10.
Okay, good. That's good. I'm glad it wasn't just the day cover and stuff that was like making you do that. But yeah,
no, it was actually like I said, it was actually a good story. And honestly, I think my problem is with the supporting cast.
Yeah, as we noticed, this issue did not feature the supporting cast, so I see what you're doing there.
Right.
But again, it's like you're gonna have people that like ship Diana with like Absolute Zatanna and stuff, but it's like, but Kelly Thompson has been very clear again that that's not going to happen. Here's the thing, because people asked her, "Will your Diana be gay?" And I just love how that's a question that people feel like they need to ask writers, but then it's like. She goes, it's not up to me, guys. I wish people would finally understand that it's not up to the writer.
I mean, they can pitch something, but it's kind of like, it depends on really, on the editors of what they see fit for the characters and how they want to market it, and the value.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, if it's not going to increase the value of the character, it's not going to last. Or if a writer does it, it's going to be shut down. But yeah, I think it's a good place to leave it. So Britt, what stories do you want to tease us with?
Okay, so I'm wrapping up my very, very early Mother's Day story with Diana finding the perfect gift for Hippolyta. As I said last week, I'm doing basically these one shots from a thread that was on Twitter. So the next one is going to be the idea was for Diana to pull the sun, um, but I'm going to do a little bit different where the story involves Apollo or some type of other god or deity that you know basically wants to burn out the sun, and it goes into, as I said, Diana's mother nature type spirit, and where she has to save basically the solar system. Um, and what that does is leave some of the heroes powerless, especially Clark, because he needs the sun, for his powers. So it's really going to be something that maybe it'll be two chapters, but it's gonna be um, trying to have it as a one shot, but it's probably going to be two chapters. Then, of course, every other story that I need to get back to, but the editing of Shelter and also Odyssey, um, and also the not so subtle connection to Awakens a one shot for tonight and other updates.
Yeah, exactly. NJ says absolute Wonder Woman is absolute is Elseworld, so they're free. Unlike them, no, it's not the same thing. Particularly if they're highlighting it so much. But I see what you're saying. NJ also wants to ask again: do you think 40 will be the last issue of King's Wonder Woman?
Um, I think so because he did say that a lot of his time has been spent with the Hollywood side of things and doing the Mr. Miracle TV show. So yeah, and I think he also told someone at a con that he might be leaving the book sooner than expected. So yeah, I would think so because I really can't see why he would stay after Wonder War, and especially the perception of the book. And I mean, I don't want him really on um, as the consultant for DCU because it just feels like the way Diana is portrayed in the books, she would, you know, it would be hanging over that he might, consult and have her portrayed as he had her in the books as well. So that's the only thing that I would say. But if he's doing something totally different, stay with the New Gods or whatever, then that's fine.
Yeah. By the way, did you see that he just posted on Instagram that he said, sorry, I haven't posted that much is because he says I'm working on bringing a couple to the big screen, referencing Scott and Barda. So yeah, it looks like he is very busy. So you definitely could. There definitely is a scenario where he leaves at 40. I'm not
Exactly.
100%. I'm more 70% convinced it's going to happen, but I'm leaving a little bit of space there because I've been disappointed before, and I figure, okay, if I'm wrong, all right, I gave it a 30% chance I'm wrong. If I'm right, though, hey, this is great. Either way, I win. So the way I kind of approach this is expect disappointment. That way, you're not disappointed, and then if it happens, great. If it happens right, great. But yeah, so
Right.
be sure to be here tomorrow, everyone, when I evaluate Wonder Woman's actual canon love interests. Yes, so it's going to be Steve, Trevor, and by Trevor I mean Trevor Barnes. Isn't that stupid? Tom Tresser. I'm only going to doing the canon have been in the comics. I'm not doing shipping unless I want to crap on Cheetah because you know what? I am that petty.
So you're going to do Steve, Barnes, Tresher, and Clark.
Yeah, pretty much. And then I'm debating if I should do that cop that Diana was friends with in the Burn Run, but they never really dated, so I don't think that would really work. But anyway, and then NJ says 40. I'm praying too, my friend. But anyway, stay heroic, everyone. Remember, Steve Trevor, Steve Never, and he's also a big sack of potatoes. Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She opposed General Zod. We will see you in the next one. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Bye-bye.